So today is a special day. It's one of my favorite C's that we're going to talk about. And most of you have been on a call or maybe a Facebook Live with Mynoo in the past. I want to just let you know what a pleasure it is every week getting this opportunity to spend time with Mynoo. As I mentioned, we just finished an extraordinary journey into miracles. That's how I met Mynoo 10 years ago, and my life changed drastically as a result. So for those of you who have not had the pleasure, Mynoo considers herself a guide, a coach, and a mentor to your miracles. And it is amazing getting an opportunity to work with her. She has a very unique gift of entrepreneurial and business genius combined with unprecedented spiritual wisdom. And I was on another Zoom event recently, and she was described as Richard Branson meets the Dalai Lama. So I can't think of anything more extraordinary than that. So I see Mynoo over there blushing. I don't think I've seen that before. So thank you all for joining us tonight. And again, if you have any comments or questions, put them in the chat box. We'll try to address those. Okay, so here we go. And without further ado, let's turn it over to Mynoo.
Thank you, Catherine, and welcome everyone. It's so wonderful to see regular faces here as we've all been journeying the 7 C's together, including our miracle journeyers. Linda, great to see you as well. And yes, Vandu, my gosh, 1:30 in the morning. It's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Okay, so so much to actually fit in 1 hour. So I'm just going to allow the divine to communicate through me and rather than have my mind structure what requires to come through. So what next? And just so that we all get on the same page, just want to reiterate a few foundational pieces of the new norm. The what next is stationed on the foundation of the new norm. The new norm, as many of you have heard me say, has landed. And actually, when we first began, some of it was anchored. Now, what I see is much of it has been anchored, and that's good news. Because what was preventing for much of it to be anchored was really the attitude of humans. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So here are some of the salient features of the new norm on which life as we know it is being built and structured. You know, in the new norm, unknown is what is known. Uncertainty is certain. Change is constant. It is the death of survival. It's no longer about just surviving. Given that it is the death of survival, what next? Because survival instinct was the one that would just, literally snap us out of whatever and get into action. So if it's a death of survival, what's the new norm about? The new norm is about the thriving instinct. And each one of us has reconnected to that thriving instinct. So if anything occurs within you, anything that you might be anxious about, or anything at all that doesn't make sense, rather than go to your survival instinct, go to your thriving instinct. It has literally, the light bulb has been switched on within each one of you. For me, that's a very exciting news. If each one of us starts operating from a thriving instinct, we automatically become co-creators. To be co-creators, collaboration is the way that it is going to be done. So the 7 C's are each a facet of the new norm. Now, a couple more things to be aware of. The other piece to be aware of is in the new norm, we have actually been in a boot camp of this next piece, which is take nothing for granted. And there are no guarantees. And yet, thriving is what is guaranteed. And anything else that we create, as something that is based on past experience, it's that there are no guarantees there. In the new norm, it is about the lightness of being. And it is the lightness of being that keeps you connected to your inner light. And when there is a sliver of light, even a tiny little dot of light, it's not dark anymore. And we all witness this light phenomenon every day when the sun rises. You know, the sky is pitch black, and then a tiny little dot or sliver appears, and it's not dark anymore. And that's how it is. That's the reality for each one of us. And how do you tap into that? You know, like there are various meditation practices that you can do to tap into your inner light and have it expand. And really what I was shown is all you have to do is to step into a lightness of being when you feel unbridled. Now, here's the cool thing about the new norm. If unknown is the known, uncertainty is certain, change is constant, take nothing for granted, death of survival, thriving instinct is what thrives, what else can you do but create? You know, what else can you do but create? And this time, and you know, there are so many of you who've known me for many years, and some of you who really got to know me at the start of my spiritual journey here. Vandu is here, who knew me just before I went away and after I came back as this new person that she'd never met before. It was this lightness of being that shifted everything. If I was to look at the hindsight, lots of nuggets, lots of insights, lots of pieces of wisdom were there. Absolutely. But that shift in my being that took place was when I stepped into that lightness of being. How did I know I was in a lightness of being? And that would be a question that each one of you, or some of you, would be having. You feel in flow. Now, what gives you access to that flow? Survival instinct doesn't. Survival instinct keeps that fright or flight inflammation in your lower brainstem going. You know, at a drop of a hat, you can go into fright or flight. Thriving instinct, on the other hand, there is a knowing that you connect to, and it is your inner knowing. And in that inner knowing, it doesn't need to know everything. You just need to know that you have your access to your inner knowing, and it's going to give you whatever it is that you require. At any moment, it knows. Your mind doesn't have to figure it out. Now, with all of these little features of the new norm, what it presents us with, a very unique collection of attributes that allow us to not just navigate, but thrive in these times of unknown and uncertainty. Because when you step into the world of thriving and you tap into your thriving instinct, you connect yourself to the moment. And you connect yourself to an understanding that all that is real is what is. And that what is shifting and changing moment by moment. You can get overwhelmed and anxious about, oh my God, so much change is happening moment by moment. But if you stand in the moment, there is no fear. There is even no elation. There is what there is. And you experience that feeling of being totally present. And as some of you heard me say, that it's about stillness. And the stillness isn't necessarily, you taking yourself away from chaotic environments. It's really about the stillness within. And that comes from you being, first of all, being present And then that being present evolves into presencing your presence to yourself. And when you presence your presence to yourself, that's when the light bulb around dignity gets switched on, and it is switched on forever. Dignity within you is illuminated. We are born with dignity, we are born with choice, and we are born with our own unique mastery, which I call as the source mastery. Dignity is honoring your own worthiness. Joni's here on the call, Linda is here on the call, David and Elena are here, Helena here on the call. All of you were with me when we, started the whole World Dignity movement and anchored it through our Solutionary Summit. And the movement was all about, really getting people to reawaken to their dignity. This is the other facet, and it is fundamental when it comes to co-creation. Honoring of your own worthiness. And from that space, standing in that space, when you honor your own worthiness, you really don't have to worry about anybody outside of you, because when you stand in that space, you automatically honor that in others. Recollection of dignity. Dignity is the foundation of this sea of co-creation. Honoring of your own worthiness and standing in that space. Activated and activating your thriving instinct. And that's it. Done. Job done. Mission accomplished. Dignity is what we are born with. Nobody can give it to us, and nobody can take it away. You can choose to attribute something outside of you as something or someone taking your dignity away or diminishing your dignity. And that is a choice that you have made. Those are the words you're using, and you are, even in doing so, in collaboration with the universe, taking what is yours and giving that away to someone else. And then feeling less than. But that is a choice you made. Your dignity is intact. It is not diminished. It cannot be diminished. We sometimes ignore it. We sometimes forget about it. And that is what had happened before. Dignity is also something that is inherent in everything. And many of you have been on my calls time and time again, and you've heard me say this. Very soon, this time will be referred to as the COVID phenomenon, or I call it the phenomenon of the crown. Like really opening of the crown for every human being, whether or not they know even if the crown exists as a very powerful force within them. Doesn't matter. Everybody's crown is being opened. Well, why is that occurring? People are, the social distancing, isolation, whatever it may be, having gone through that cycle of rebelling against it, feeling, held down, all of that. People have gone through, and they are at different phases in that cycle. And now it doesn't matter where they are at. Even where there is still a rampant presence of fear, there is also a reconnection to an inner knowing. That, okay, it's going to turn out the way it's going to turn out. There is an allowance that has come in. What has brought about that allowance? Where people have started allowing. It is that remembrance that has taken place of your own self-worth. People are standing up for themselves in their own homes, in their own families. I'm here by myself, and I am standing up for myself. Within myself, I'm connected to what the needs of my body are more than I have ever been. I'm learning to really appreciate every facet, every aspect of it. And I'm so present to each and every person in my life ever who has shown up for a short time or a long time. Because each one has left an imprint in my field. And whether I know it and I do it consciously or I don't do it consciously, it is informing how I move forward. So here's the interesting thing about co-creation. My invitation to all of you would be, get conscious about it. But the interesting thing about co-creation is we are co-creating anyway. And we can come from our prejudices, our judgments, or our evaluations based on our past, or we can do it in the realm of the new norm, where there is no past, and actually there is no future. If anything that this particular phenomenon has taught us, it is that there is only now. And one, soon to be replaced by the new now, soon to be replaced by the new now. There is only now. And in the now, when you are in the now, all that exists is miracles, which are making your heart sing. Because if you were to look at, well, what is in the now? Well, your heart's beating, that is. If you can even think this, your heart is beating. That is the song of the heart. And the heart beating, and when it's singing, there is a miracle here right now. So what is that? And even in thinking about that, you start co-creating with your body. You start co-creating with your mind. You start co-creating with your presence. Here's the other piece about co-creation. Co-creation occurs when you are in that space of presence. And it is a co-creation as opposed to patchwork. You can get co-creative and create patchwork solutions, and that would be a very different solution if it's coming from a thriving instinct, as opposed to feeling you're better than something else out there that requires to be fixed. So when I say death of survival, there are certain ramifications of that in the realm of co-creation. Death of survival implies there is no need to fix anything, including within yourself. So if no fixing is required, just think back. I'm just thinking back myself. When I'm doing these talks, I just allow what Spirit wishes to communicate to come through. So sometimes when I'm communicating, I'm also connecting to my human form. And I do recall for myself, when I'm in that fixing mode, yes, it keeps me really busy. And my sense of accomplishment is linked to the busyness as opposed to the impact. And I go further and further away from my own self-worth. And suddenly, things outside of us seem to be in control. Hey, but it began with me. So that's the easy part to get. That inner realm, these foundation pieces of the new norm, where unknown is the known, uncertainty is certain, change is constant, death of survival, thriving instinct is called for, take nothing for granted. Co-creation that's the way. And you begin with co-creating with yourself. When you go into the co-creation with yourself, there is a very big acknowledgement that occurs. You are acknowledging your presence as the creator. Who are we? You've heard it many times, many of you I know, and you've heard me certainly talk about, we are a soul being that is choosing to express itself through this human form. And some people say we are a soul being having a human experience. And what is the soul being? A soul was created by the creator as a speck of consciousness, and it is in the form of light. So we are a speck of the creator. So when you step into the realms of co-creation, and here's the thing, even though it feels like a very doing thing, the moment you step into co-creation, you begin, today I'm going to be a co-creator and be the co-creator with yourself. You switch on those switched off light bulbs in you. And the light bulbs that you switched off were you recognizing yourself as the creator. This phenomenon of co-creation, what it looks like, what it's capable of, the impact it has on our world has been playing out in this time of the pandemic. And as a result, you see nature has reclaimed itself faster than humans could fix it. Death of survival equals no fixing required. When you are in a space of fixing, each one of us has been in situations with a partner or with someone who's trying to fix us. How frustrating that is. There is no room for co-creation. What does it do? The fixing mode, really propagates conflict. And we even stop being present. We are always like on the edge in survival, figuring out, working out what is it that we have to now react with. How are we going to defend ourselves against this? How are we going to ensure that we will never do that? Or we will never do this? If I'm pushed in this direction, there is no co-creation. We can pretend to be part of the same team, but there is no co-creation occurring. Because conflict is at the foundation. The cool thing is, we don't have to go sit on the Himalayas or anywhere at all to get to a point where co-creation just is. The divine and everything that has turned out in the last 60 days has enabled us to be in this space where we have had sufficient experience over an extended period of time in this realm of unknown is the known, not knowing, uncertainty is certain, change is constant, and we are all learning to thrive. We began with the survival instinct of fear, and then it went into thriving. Fear equals preservation. Preservation equals there might be a lack. Let's hold on. Thriving equals sharing. There is flow. There is abundance. The thriving instinct activation literally is the one that turns on that big main switch, if you like. And you recognize yourself initially as a co-creator, and that as you continue the co-creation with yourself, you start doing it with others. You may not be aware of it, but subconsciously, you start recognizing yourself as the creator. And it is the creator that created the bees, the butterflies, and the perfection of this human body. The sky, the rainbows. That's you. That's you. So if that is you, here's the journey. Here's what you can take on as you journey into the sea of co-creation. So over the next few days, before we meet here again, next Thursday, your journey into the sea of co-creation can be for you to look at, if there was no barriers, if you could co-create anything at all, and really exercise that creator recognition of within yourself, what would this world be like? What would people in this world be like? How would they be relating to each other? How would they be communicating? What would nature be like? What would the greens look like? What would the rainbows feel like? You know? Literally, if you are the creator, I am the creator, and each one of us is the creator, and we start co-creating within ourselves, in no time at all, that co-creation vibe is going to magnify holographically across the planet. And even accepting that you are the co-creator is the anchoring of honoring your own worthiness. Dignity delivered. That is the movement of dignity that will occur without us wronging anything or anyone. The moment we go into a space of making something right or something wrong, we are in the space of fixing. Being an observer about something that delivers to me, doesn't deliver, is different than becoming judgmental about this is right and this is wrong. And you know it for yourself. When you are in that realm of being judgmental, you know, there's no lightness of being in that. It's a heaviness. And this is a baggage-free flight. So if you don't have lightness of being, you know, you can't fly. The air element has landed in its full might and we are seeing it. And not only that, it has anchored the pandemic energy across the planet. So whatever it is that we take on, let's be conscientious about it without being heavy. Let's be conscientious about it and let's get into action. I was shown that 2020 was a year of doing. And I've written the B book. And it's like, hello, why did I write the B book if 2020 is going to be about doing? It's actually a dance. So even in this co-creation, in a space of silence when you're, or stillness, when you're honoring your own worthiness, there's a lot of doing that is taking place. And that is what happened. That's why the air quality in Delhi got cleaned out. You know, that's why those turtles that were supposed to be extinct, who used to be studied in laboratories, 60,000 of them showed up on a beach in Orissa from the ocean. They weren't just born in a few days. They were there to breed, you know, they'd been around for a bit. Something happened to the waters. We had hundreds and thousands of flamingos just here a couple of weeks ago in Mumbai. And there used to be, we've seen National Geographic videos about it. But that didn't happen for many decades. There would be a few thousand that would show up. And it was a sea of pink. Glorious in Mumbai, my gosh. One of the busiest cities on the planet. That is the magic of co-creation. And what enabled that to happen? What enabled that to happen is humans starting to return within themselves, reconnecting to the creator energy that they have within them, allowing that knowingness to be present for them. They may have done it consciously. Many of us did do it consciously. And at a subconscious level, it was happening everywhere. So take on your presence as the creator. Allow for that to be amplified by being a co-creator. Begin by being a co-creator of your life and then focus your attention on, if you're the creator, what kind of a world are you going to create? And it is going to be a co-creation. Co-creation activates the creator within. Co-creation presences you as the human who is bringing forth the vibe of love, expressing an eternal, expansive entity of your soul, which is indestructible, unstoppable, already knows its destination. And in that space, confidence returns, Courage is a given. Expecting and accepting miracles are the norm. So the joy for you from this is going to come from implementing it. And many of you here already know how particular I am about let's focus on implementation. Getting the ahas is great. And given that you are the creator and we are co-creators, then the impact of what we are bringing forth occurs from implementation. So journey into the sea of co-creation over the next 7 days.